Keanu Reeves loved solitude. After filming a movie, when his character lingered in the audience's memory and his name once again flashed across the screens, the actor would try to retreat from the noise and hustle. He often sought out secluded spots where he could be by himself, away from cameras and fans. It was in those moments that Keanu felt truly alive, free, and at peace. One day, on a sunny afternoon, he decided to spend some time in a small cafe on a corner street in Hollywood. No special plans, just a cup of black coffee, a calm atmosphere, and perhaps a few lines for a new script. He stood by the window, observing the world outside, when his gaze accidentally fell on a figure across the street. It was a man. Tall, with a hood concealing his face. Keanu couldn't make out his features, but something about the man immediately drew his attention. The man didn't enter the cafe, he simply stood there, as though watching life pass by. Keanu couldn't shake the strange feeling that the man was not there by chance. He looked at him again, and it seemed like the man felt his gaze. He turned around and stared directly into Keanu's eyes. Holding his breath, the actor quickly looked away. Something felt off. Maybe he was mistaken. Perhaps it was just his imagination, a play of light and shadow? He tried to focus on the menu, but soon noticed that the man was still standing there, across the street, watching him. Not feeling the desire to dwell on it, Keanu decided to let go of those thoughts. He picked up his coffee cup and, leaning back in his chair, began to look out the window at the street. But his calm didn't last long. A few minutes later, his gaze involuntarily stopped at the same spot. The man was still there. He wasn't moving, wasn't doing anything. Just standing. It couldn't be a coincidence. A quiet but persistent unease began to grow in his mind. Keanu quickly took a sip from his cup and stood up to leave. He couldn't understand what was happening, but decided not to focus on these oddities. He had always been inclined to overthink, and maybe it was just stress or fatigue from filming. He headed towards the exit. But when Keanu crossed the threshold of the cafe and stepped onto the street, he saw him again, the man in the hood. He was in the same spot, and his gaze seemed to follow Keanu's every move. The anxiety was intensifying. Just a coincidence, Keanu thought, trying to hide the growing tension within himself. He decided to walk a little further, thinking he'd leave the street and head home. But, as it turned out, the man kept following him. Keanu overtook a few people to see if he was mistaken. He quickened his pace, turned into an alley, but the man, like a ghost, was always nearby. When he turned the corner, Keanu looked back to make sure his intuition wasn't wrong. The man was there. On the other side of the street, just like before, standing and watching him. This was too strange, too suspicious to be just a coincidence. Keanu felt his heart race. This was no longer mere curiosity or a chance encounter, it was something more. Something indescribable, following him in the shadows, getting closer with each step. Over the next few days, he began noticing the man everywhere. On set, in restaurants, even on the street when he was walking at his usual pace. The man seemed to follow him, but never came too close. He always stayed at a distance, hiding his face in the shadows, watching. Keanu tried to push these thoughts away. Maybe it was just someone who liked his films and happened to be nearby. But no, too many coincidences, too many strange glances. Each time Keanu decided to go somewhere new, it felt like the same person would be nearby, always on the edge of his line of sight. It became impossible to ignore. Each glance grew more uneasy, each step more tense. The shadows of the past began to feel real. The nights had changed. Keanu Reeves never considered himself an anxious person. He had been through a lot in life, loss, loneliness, fame that brings more walls than doors. But now, even in his penthouse with heavy curtains and security at the entrance, he felt a presence. As if someone was standing behind the door. As if someone was watching, even when he was alone. After the incident at the cafe, he tried to dismiss it as imagination. But each day, it became harder to convince himself. In Los Angeles, on the set of a new movie, Keanu saw the man again, in the distance, beyond the fence of the film set. He stood in the shadow of a trailer, not drawing attention. Only Keanu noticed him. When he told security, they immediately went to check, but no one was there. Maybe it's just a local fan. They sneak in sometimes, the guard said casually. Want us to increase security? Keanu nodded, but deep down he knew, it wasn't about security. This man didn't push forward. He didn't shout or ask for autographs. He watched. And he was everywhere. A few days later, Keanu decided to change his surroundings. He flew to New York, quietly, with no press releases or public statements. He checked into a hotel in Manhattan under another name, something he did from time to time. Only he and the manager knew who he really was. That evening, he went for a walk through Central Park. It was quiet, cool, and for the first time in a long while, he felt like he could breathe. Until he saw the silhouette. Same height, same walk. A man in a hood. He stood on the path, like a random passerby. But he didn't move. Keanu slowed his pace, not believing his eyes. He couldn't be here. He couldn't. He left the path and, without turning back, returned to the hotel through a different street. In the room, he stared at his reflection in the mirror and, for the first time in many years, felt fear. Not of the camera. Not of the public. Not of failure. But of the unknown that followed him wherever he went. He called his assistant. I'm leaving the country. Just for a bit. I need to disappear. Book a ticket to Tokyo. Tomorrow. She didn't ask questions. She respected his boundaries. Within 36 hours, Keanu was sitting in business class on a flight to Japan. He chose a place where he was barely recognized, where he could vanish. The flight went smoothly. At Narita Airport, he didn't notice anything suspicious. And only on the third day, while strolling the streets of Kyoto and feeling a faint joy from being anonymous, he felt it again. That gaze. He stopped by an antique shop window. And in the reflection of the glass, he saw him. Across the street. Not closer, not farther, always in the shadows, as if following some internal logic. Never breaking the distance. Never coming closer. But always near. Keanu's breath caught. He turned around, but by then the figure was gone. Again, he began to doubt himself. Maybe he was losing his mind? Maybe it just looked similar. Some fan with a similar build? Back at the hotel, he took his phone and opened the camera roll. He scrolled through the latest photos, zoomed in on one from Central Park. In the background, there really was a figure. Not clear, but recognizable. He switched to a photo taken 2 days ago at the film studio in Los Angeles. The same figure. Same stance. Almost the same distance. He felt a chill crawl down his spine. He didn't know the name. Didn't know the purpose. But he knew one thing, whoever this was, he wasn't just a fan. This man was a hunter. The next day, Keanu decided to take drastic measures. He went to a police station in Kyoto and tried to explain the situation. The Japanese officer, polite but slightly puzzled, listened carefully. Are you sure he's done something? No. Not yet. But he's everywhere. He's following me. I don't know how he does it. Do you want to file a report? Keanu sighed. He knew he had no real evidence. Just photos and feelings. Until something concrete happened, no one would help. No. Not yet. That same night, he left Japan. This time, for Iceland. And again, just as he started to feel calm, he saw the man. First near a lighthouse, then in the hotel lobby, and finally at a bus stop in Reykjavik. The figure, an unchanging shadow, a part of his new reality. One night, Keanu woke to a sound. He was staying in a cabin near a fjord. No one around for miles. He stepped outside into the stillness. And saw footprints in the snow. A single trail, human, leading from the road straight to his door. And, not going back. The footprints in the yard disappeared by morning. As if they had never existed. Keanu woke up early. He hadn't slept a wink before dawn. He sat by the window with a kitchen knife in his hand, waiting for movement, a sound, anything, even a rustle. But the night remained silent. And when the first rays of sunlight touched the hillside, he stepped outside. The snow was fresh, covered by a thin crust of ice, but the footprints were gone. Not a single one. He walked to the road, nothing. No cars, no tire tracks, no prints. Only his own steps there and back. It was as if the night had erased everything, leaving only doubt. Back inside the cabin, he opened his laptop. For the first time, he decided to search actively. Until then, he had hoped to leave, to hide, to disappear, but now he understood, that wasn't a solution. He uploaded photos taken in Los Angeles, New York, and Kyoto. Used a facial recognition service. After a couple of minutes, the screen displayed a message, "No matches found." He tried uploading video from the film set, where the figure had appeared briefly, same error. It was impossible. No one can leave no digital trace. Especially not someone who had appeared in 3 different countries. Keanu called an old contact, a former intelligence agent he knew from a charity project in Iraq. The man lived in London. Keanu didn't go into details, just asked if he could check someone out. Send photos, track movement. If it's a stalker, I'll help. Send me everything you've got, said the voice on the other end. Keanu sent the photos. 3 hours later, a reply came. There's no one in these photos, K. Just you. He reread the message 3 times. Then opened the photos again. And sure enough, on the one that had once horrified him, there was now just a Central Park street. No silhouette. No figure. Was he losing his mind? Or was someone editing the images after he sent them? He checked the originals. The figure was still there. But every time he sent them, Google Drive, messengers, email, the figure vanished. Only his devices retained it. Even when trying to print, only the street came out on paper, no person. The next morning, Keanu flew to London. He told no one, just the pilot, a private terminal, and 9 hours later he stood at the door of a small office on the outskirts of the city. His old friend Liam met him with a grim face. You look like you haven't slept in a week. I haven't. He's still following me. Liam brought him inside. On the walls, monitors, schematics, maps. This was his fortress. He shut the door behind them and turned around. Okay. Show me the originals. Keanu inserted the flash drive. They opened the images. The figure was there. Clearly visible, against a street lamp, near a cafe, outside a studio, in the background in Kyoto. Liam squinted. Damn. This isn't an error. But as soon as you send them, he disappears. Every time. Then it's either someone with access to your cloud, or someone who knows you're looking for him, and scrubs the traces in advance. But how would he do it in real time? He can't know where I'm going. He always shows up before I tell anyone. You checked your phones for tracking? I changed phones. Bought them in different countries. Even changed my Apple ID. Nothing. Liam looked at the screen. You know, this sounds like a movie. But it's all real. This person, or team, they've been watching you for a while. And they seem to be way more advanced than either of us. I can feel him. He's not trying to hurt me. But, it's like he's studying me. Maybe that is the goal. That evening, they decided to run an experiment. Keanu would go to a crowded square in London. Multiple cameras would be installed, hidden, regular, drones. Everything would be recorded. Liam would monitor with his team. Keanu stepped into the crowd. He felt strange, like a film shoot, but without a script. He wandered the streets, stopped by a bookstore, then by a street musician. And finally, he saw him. The same man. Different coat. Face covered with a scarf, hood pulled low. Standing 20 meters away. Keanu took a step, the figure moved. Keanu turned and walked down the street, rounded a corner. The man followed. Keanu pointed his phone camera at him, as if accidentally, and took a photo. This time, he didn't lower the phone. He just stood there, staring at the screen. And again, the figure was there. He sent the photo to Liam. 15 seconds later, a reply. You sent me another empty street, man. Keanu slowly lowered the phone. He turned back. The man was gone. When he returned to the office, Liam looked pale. We reviewed all the footage. You walked through the square. Alone. The entire time. Keanu was silent. For the first time in a long time, he didn't know what to feel. I'm not crazy, Liam. I know. That's actually worse, to be honest. Keanu sat down in the chair. Whoever this is, they know I'm watching. That I'm searching. And they're erasing themselves. Liam nodded. And the worst part is something else. What? You didn't notice? He's getting closer. It was raining in London. The rain tapped against the windows, the rooftops, and his soul. Keanu Reeves stood by the window, his forehead resting against the cold glass, and felt the tremor in his hands refuse to subside. It seemed that everything he had done in the past few days had been meaningless. Someone was following him. Not just for a day, not even a month. Someone who knew how to erase themselves. Someone who didn't just follow, but observed. But why? He's not just studying you, Liam had said. It's like he's waiting for you to understand something. What? Keanu asked. That I'm paranoid? Or that I'm the main character in a movie I'm not even making? No, Liam replied. You need to understand where you made the mistake. Those words stuck in his mind. Where had he gone wrong? The next day, Keanu came up with a plan. He would leak false information to journalists, claiming he was heading to Berlin to meet with a director. The leak would be accidental, via his PR agent. In reality, he would drive to Edinburgh, quietly, at night, by car. No phone. No cameras. Liam and his team would set up surveillance along the route, placing monitoring points on the highway and in the city itself. The goal, see if the person would show up there. Keanu set out at 3:18 a.m. He was alone. Weather, fog. Road, empty. He didn't play music, didn't talk to himself, didn't even drink coffee. His full focus was on the road and the rearview mirrors. 2 hours in, something strange happened. A car behind him. No headlights. Keeping its distance. When Keanu sped up, the car did too. He suddenly turned into a gas station, the car drove past without slowing. But 15 minutes later, it was back again. He arrived in Edinburgh at 9:05. Liam was already waiting. Not a single frame captured. Not at any intersection. Not at any checkpoint. And yet. He was behind me again. The car without headlights. I saw it twice. Liam thought for a moment. We need to go further. We have to provoke him. Force him out of the shadows. That evening, they went to the Balmoral Hotel. Keanu booked a room under a false name. It was all set up like a normal dinner. The press office had already leaked that Keanu flew to Berlin, supposedly to meet the Matrix 5 producer. The restaurant was full. People were glancing around, hoping to spot the celebrity. But he sat in the corner, in a gray sweater, under a cap. He knew, if he was here, he'd find a way to appear. And Keanu felt it. A gut feeling. A chill down his spine. Like someone breathing on his neck. He turned. Slowly. At the far end of the room sat a man. He didn't look the same as before. This time, he wore a formal suit and held a glass of red wine. This time, his face was clearly visible. Keanu couldn't believe it. It looked familiar. Too familiar. He stood up. Slowly walked over. 5 meters. 3. 2. The man looked at him. And smiled. You finally decided to stop running, he said. His voice was soft, calm. Peaceful, like water in a deep well. Who are you? The one you've been hiding all this time. Keanu froze. You've been following me. 4 months. No, the man replied. You've been leading me all along. Keanu stepped closer. What do you want? The man looked him in the eyes. To remember. At that moment, the door slammed. A noise. Keanu turned sharply. Someone had dropped a tray. He looked back at the table. The man was gone. The chair, empty. The table, only a wine glass. A bill. Liam ran up, eyes wide. Where is he? Where was he sitting? Keanu didn't answer. He slowly sank into the chair. His heart was pounding. One word echoed in his mind. Remember. Later, in the room, he watched the camera footage again. But no camera had recorded the man's figure. Just an empty chair. Just Keanu, speaking into nothing. Liam, bewildered, looked at him. You were talking to an empty chair. Bro, I saw it myself. There was no one there. No, Keanu said. He was. I felt him. I remember. He suddenly froze. I remember. What? Keanu turned to the window. Outside, across the street, someone was standing. Just like before, a coat, a scarf, a silhouette. Motionless, like a statue. Keanu whispered. He was with me before. A long time ago. At the camp, in childhood. I remembered. He closed his eyes. And when he opened them, the figure was gone. London had given way to Los Angeles. The sun was shining through the window again, but Keanu didn't notice it. He sat in his apartment in silence. The phone was off, the laptop closed. Liam, the team, filming, life, everything was on pause. He was remembering. Not just isolated episodes, whole pieces of the past, as if someone had pulled them out of an archive, dusted them off, and laid them on the table. A face. A voice. A camp by a lake. Deep in the Canadian wilderness. Keanu, a child, quiet, withdrawn. And another boy. Just as quiet. Too similar. You know I'm not real, that boy had once said to him at camp. Then who are you, young Keanu asked. I'm here so you wouldn't be alone. And that was it. Then he was gone. Keanu grew up. Moved away. Acted in movies. Became an icon. But somewhere deep down, in that place a person can't lock away with reason, he kept walking beside him. You think he's a figment of your imagination? Liam asked, again in the living room, holding a cup of coffee. Keanu shook his head. No. Not anymore. He's not just a hallucination. This isn't madness. Then who is he, Keanu? He's part of me. Forgotten, repressed. He's been watching because I strayed too far from myself. Played the part too long. Played? Yes. Played roles. Ran through worlds. But I forgot who I was before all that. Keanu stood up. Walked to the mirror. Looked at his reflection. He wants me to come back. That same night, Keanu drove again. This time, alone, into the Santa Monica Mountains. Where the old summer camp used to be. Now, crumbling cabins, overgrown paths, the cobwebs of time. He walked down the old trail, feeling each step grow heavier. As if the ground was calling him home. By the lake stood an old bench. Keanu sat down. And then he appeared. Quietly. From the forest. Without fear. He just sat beside him. Do you remember me? He asked. Now, yes. You ran for a long time. I thought it was all made up. That I was going mad. Maybe you were. But even madness is sometimes an attempt to remember. They sat in silence. Keanu looked at his face. It was just as it had been at camp. Just as he remembered. As if the years had never touched him. Who are you now? Keanu asked. The man looked out at the lake. You used to call me Jay. Just Jay. And now what? You found me. Now you know I'm not your enemy. Then why did you follow me? Jay smiled. Calmly. Almost like a father. So that you'd become yourself again. The sun rose above the lake. Light settled on Keanu's face. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, the bench was empty. No trace. No footprints. Not even an imprint on the wood. But for the first time in a long while, he felt quiet. Not anxious, not heavy. Familiar. As if something inside him had come to rest. A week later, he returned to the spotlight. His smile, real. His voice, steady. His presence, calm. The interviewer asked. What would you say to someone who's been following you for years? Keanu paused. Then answered. Thank you. Thank you. He nodded. Sometimes, to find yourself, you have to get lost. And only when someone follows you, refusing to let you forget who you were, do you realize who you want to be. The interviewer didn't understand. But Keanu was already looking away, squinting slightly, toward the corner of the room. Where no one stood. And for a moment, he saw Jay again. Standing in the shadows. With the same look from their childhood. But now, just watching. No longer needing to follow.